A big thing for me is thinking about how do we tell the story of how we won is truly to tell the story of our journey. You know, Dr. King says, I've made it to the mountaintop. The archivist will tell you how did he get there? What route did he get to make it to that top of that mountain because it wasn't easy. And when we hear that speech, and so often we just think of like, all right, the mountaintop is here. We here, and it's like, no, how do we get there? And that's something we talked about a year ago of how organizing in itself is pretty ambiguous. You know, they show the sittings, but they don't show the conversations and the debates around should we even do this sitting. So for me, a huge thing that I would like other people to understand about the work is that it exists. You know, when I told people I was an archivist and they asked me what that meant, I told them I'm the guy in the basement of a library that no one talks to, that no one sees, and you really don't care about. But it made sense to them. It made sense to them. The problem is we're not in the basement anymore. All of this is online. It's all digitized now. FAMU was started by an African prince from Sierra Leone. And while I was doing my research on him, Thomas DeSalle Tucker, I went to the Black Archives at FAMU, and I couldn't get any information because everything they had on him was being digitized in that moment. You know, so even the work we're doing is evolving. And I think that's the portrayal that has to evolve with it, that we're no longer just like armchair revolutionaries, but we're real guerrilla intellectuals. Like we're utilizing academia for our people. I think about Zimbabwe. They said when Zimbabwe got independence, like 3 people had college degrees. So if you don't know that, you don't understand the struggle that that nation has to climb itself out of. And that's where our stories have to be told so we have a full understanding. And just to talk about the power of imagery and the power of archiving, I went to the Civil Rights Museum in Atlanta and I saw a picture of Ruby Doris. I didn't know anything about her, but her face, you know a real face when you see one. And it wasn't until I was able to talk to the SNCC elders that I got the real story of Ruby Doris. But if I don't have you, all I have is a face. So we're the ones that put a name to those faces.
Alafia, peace. I am Khafre Kujichakali Abif. I'm a librarian by profession and came into kind of archival work because I was doing independent contracting and found working for my first organizing work, archiving organizing work was an organization called Kindred Spirits, Southern Justice for Kindred Spirits, and they're actually a woman-led organization that does work around reproductive justice. And having the opportunity to come in and work specifically with the New Georgia Project, there were some things and how can we tell the story? I went in asking myself, how can I get these folks to help me make people understand how were they able to change Georgia purple? You know, because Georgia is a tough place to live, and it's a tough place for politics, and because it has so many counties. I think Georgia has the most counties in its state than any other state in the United States, and so things are really broken up politically in that way. But how do we tell the stories about how we won? Is really a great kind of. I didn't even know that's what I was doing, John. But I do want to say that one of the questions that I asked the folks that were working on the New Georgia Project was, what would you want your grandchildren to know about the work you're doing right now? And that was kind of my emphasis for going in and sifting through the information and trying to gather a story there. It was about really how they were able to go in and do not just one, but have multiple satellite sites around the state of Georgia, and how they really got in the ground. I mean, real grassroots stuff, but how they used modern day technologies to do their work. One of the things about New Georgia Project is, their electronic stuff, like they'll send out a tweet, and because they didn't want the enemy to know what they were doing, the tweet would only last virtually for minutes, and then it would disappear. And that's how a lot of their electronic things went out. It would go out, the constituents would get it, and then it would go away. Very hard to archive. very difficult to try to archive that stuff. But it was amazing to actually be able to see in real time how they were engaging constituents across the state of Georgia. The other thing I do want to highlight about New Georgia Project is, as a librarian, I've always worked with women because it's a women-dominated field. But New Georgia Project is a women-led organization. I mean, I'm talking about from top to bottom, women-led organizations that are doing just powerful, powerful work, grassroots organizing, but also civic engagement. They would not have been able to turn the state purple if they had not raised the voter registration in the state of Georgia. And they were doing that by using the technology of today to get it done. I'll say no more.